All right, so that's step one of negative reinforcement. Remember, it was just simply that the pressure commences either before the command is given or the commencement of an exercise or simultaneously, but the pressure extends all the way to the completion of the command. That's step one of negative reinforcement. Step number two, pretty simple, not much changes here, right? Negative reinforcement. The pressure starts either before or simultaneously with the commencement of an exercise, and the pressure continues, but before my dog actually gets to the completion of the command, whether that's sit, down, stay, place, foos, whatever it may be, the pressure ends early. So really what we're doing here is we're beginning to give the dog the benefit of the doubt, right? I tell my dog place, I apply pressure and then tell my dog place. My dog's on the way to the place. Before my dog actually gets to the placemat, I remove the pressure. I'm anticipating that the dog's gonna go all the way to the placemat. So what that looks like on our pyramid over here is, I drew a little blue line here to kind of represent the completion of an exercise. So I apply pressure and I tell my dog place. My dog's on the way to place. Before they get there, I remove the pressure of negative reinforcement. The collar goes off. That's kind of the first positive feeling. Then my dog gets all the way to the placemat, gets on the placemat, and then I reward, right? And so as we move to the top of the pyramid, at the top of the learning phase of the pyramid, what that looks like is the negative reinforcement is held less and less until at the top of the learning phase, the pressure of negative reinforcement of the collar is just a tap that's simultaneously with the cue to do something. So it's sit, I apply pressure at the same time I say it, down, I apply pressure at the same time I say it, and it's just a quick tap. So what that looks like over here on this graph is, as we get to the top of the learning phase, is the negative reinforcement is just held less and less until it ends simultaneously or with the command, the cue, commencement of an exercise, and it just ends up being a tap right when I'm giving a command. So again, we're moving toward the intermittent phase or the proofing phase of the pyramid, and the closer we get to the top of the learning phase, the more confident we are that the dog knows what negative reinforcement means. They understand what negative reinforcement means, and they learn the command to where we're very, very confident that the dog knows what we're asking. Goose. Marker. Goose. Marker. 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 Place. 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 Okay, so one of the things that I want to make sure that I mention is that in step two of negative reinforcement in this course, when we're reducing the duration of the stem to where the stem does not go all the way to the command, right? And then it's reduced all the way back to where the stem is actually a tap that's simultaneous with the cue that is given. You want to make sure at that point that it's simultaneous with the cue or the commencement of the exercise and not before as an activator, right? Or before extending into the exercise as negative reinforcement. And the reason we want to do that, we want it to be simultaneous because we don't want the dog to know, eventually we don't want the dog to know that if we don't give the pressure that there's not going to be a consequence, right? If we're constantly issuing the negative reinforcement pressure before we give the command, then the dog already knows whether the pressure is going to come or not. We want it to be simultaneous. And that's not a set in stone rule, right? There's some gray area there. That's not necessarily completely black and white, but that's the way that I prefer to do it. And we'll see more why once we get into the next phase, into the intermittent phase. So.